Still to
prosecutors to look into any substantial breaches of electoral law, and President Trump is stepping up his efforts to substantiate claims of electoral fraud. Just Erin Elmore. Erin, thank you very much indeed for being with us. We haven't seen anything like this before from a US presidential candidate. What is the strategy?
Well, I think, first of all, the problem was these mail-in ballots, and that was an initiative pushed very fervently, if you will, by the Democrat Party. And to them, I say, you reap what you sow. Having said that, everyone in America and the world at large needs to understand something. Joe Biden is not the president-elect of the United States.
Right.
First, the Secretary of State of each state has to certify the election. Then the Electoral College has to meet, and then they vote. Then you have a president-elect. This isn't actually something totally out of the ordinary, because Al Gore, when it was Bush versus Gore, thought he was president until December 13th. So to those people that think that the president should just concede, I say buckle.
Well, wait a minute. There isn't really a parallel. I know it's the Republicans are trying to whip one up. There isn't really a parallel to 2000. You know that perfectly well. That was a genuine voting issue in one state, which was the decisive state. In this case, we have a candidate who's got more than 4 million more votes than other people, and as yet there has been no evidence of substantial voting error or voting frauds which could have changed the outcome of this election. So that really is bogus. And aren't you a bit ashamed of yourself, to be honest, undermining the democratic process for partisan reasons?
Well, actually, to call me shameful is shameful of you. And I'm an attorney, and I will tell you what we call that in the law is legal precedent. Moreover, Al Gore only had one state. We have Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, potentially North Carolina, Nevada, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So I would say—
You don't have any of them. You don't have any of them in dispute. You don't have any of them in dispute. You're claiming things have gone wrong. You don't actually have any of them where you've actually substantiated a case. And secondly, in those states, when you have focused on it, you haven't focused on enough votes to overturn the issue.
So you don't believe in legal due process in the United States of America?
I believe in the democratic process, and I'm asking you whether you think you are respecting the democratic process.
I respect.
Would you be happy? Would you be happy for Donald Trump to stay president against the will of the majority of the American people on legal technicalities?
This is such a shameful conversation. I'm embarrassed that I'm even having it. But having said that, these lawsuits do need to play out. The American people deserve to see democracy at work. And our Constitution and our legal system are part of this democracy that every American has fought so hard for. I will say this. There are recounts, there are audits, and there are lawsuits. And due process needs to play out here in the United States. So a real clear winner is had.
Right.
Democrats and Republicans alike should have a president that everyone supports and believes is fairly elected. As of right now, there are massive allegations of voter fraud, and you need to—
There are not massive allegations of voter fraud. There are claims of massive allegations. There are not massive allegations. There are a few individual cases, but there are not massive allegations. And again, it is wrong to tell the world that that is the case. And what is more, you know perfectly well that when the states do certify the results, which they're probably going to do in the next couple of weeks, that's game over. You can't overturn certified state results, can you?
No one is arguing who the winner should be. The American people deserve—
You are. You've just said Joe Biden. You've just told me Joe Biden is not the winner. So you are arguing it. Don't say you're not arguing it. You are.
He is— Darling, I told you that he is not the president-elect of the United States, which he is not. He has not been certified by each state Secretary of State, and the Electoral College has not met yet. So if you want to be a proper Brit and be technical, those are the technicalities. You know, everyone—
Okay, he is recognized as the president-elect by Republican President, former Republican President, and by former Republican President George W. Bush, by admittedly Democratic President Bill Clinton, by 4 US Republican senators and by Democratic senators. Look, it's not a question. I know technically he hasn't been sworn in yet and the Electoral College hasn't met. We all know that. But we also know that any previous candidate other than Donald Trump would have admitted that he'd lost and conceded by now.
So I guess what you're telling the viewer is that the mainstream media and big tech like Google, Facebook, and Twitter control the narrative and tell us what to think. I tell everyone at home, please watch the show Black Mirror because you're watching it right now. The media is gaslighting you. Think for yourselves and just let the democratic process play out. No one is saying that Joe Biden isn't going to ultimately.
And what you're doing is encouraging people to indulge in baseless conspiracy theories. And I put it to you again, as someone, an attorney at law, I find that an extremely regrettable thing for you to be doing.
Well, I hope you are never charged with a crime, because if so, you would be convicted and guilty, because no due process is entitled to anyone. Now is it?
Do you listen to yourself ever and think, does anyone really believe what I'm saying?
So now we're going to insult me for my opinion.
No, I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you. You're making a case.
I'm extremely proud
you've made a series of statements which have not had backing.
And I spent 3 years in law school and I passed the bar exam, and I did so meritoriously and in good faith, and I'm in good standing. So I think you should have some deference and respect for a lady.
Right, and I spent 40 years covering American politics, and I've also got
and
degrees.
Insulting women.
I'm not insulting women. I don't even. Your sex doesn't come into this. I'm simply asking you whether you think Republicans and Republicans like you are behaving in an honourable and decent fashion that you would be proud to turn around to the next generation and say, "Copy me."
I would want every American to say, hey, we should have a constitution that means something from 1776. Our legal system works. We should have due process of law. Every American citizen is entitled to due process of law. There are recounts, there are audits, and there are lawsuits. And until they are fully seen out, we have to respect the will of the President of the United States. And whether you like it or not, the president today is Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States. I do not know who will be the 46th president, and it is really not my opinion to say who it will be, but I will tell you, we deserve transparency in elections. We deserve to see this process at work, and only one party wants that, and that's the Republican Party. Elections done in secrecy are bad for Democrats and Republicans and our republic alike.
It doesn't sound as if, in the end, you're confident that this legal misery you're putting America through is going to result in your winning anyway.
To be honest, let's take Donald Trump out of the equation. I know your vitriol and hatred for him is apparent.
I've
this is about
expressed no
fairness for
opinion.
Everyone. Oh, if you haven't expressed an opinion, then I have green hair. Having said that, I think every American deserves transparency in this process, and it has to play out because this election is impacting Republicans. Just so you know, this could happen to a Democrat in the future. We have to realize this election is a pinnacle in America. We have to realize everyone deserves fairness and transparency and due process. Okay. And that is the crux of the problem and of the issue. Until these results are certified, Joe Biden is not the president of the United States, and that is a plain and simple fact in black and white. I know you're.
Well, I seem to remember the last few Democratic defeated candidates for the presidency conceded gracefully. We'll just leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Erin Elmore.
Thank you for your kindness.
Well, let's go back to Gamal.